Hi everybody. Finally set up here in Novosibirsk. Travel went okay. I'm alive. I'm in the new place, which is this like Soviet era apartment in Novosibirsk. Happy to finally be settled. So I actually wanted to start a kind of video blog to talk about my research, which obviously hasn't started yet, but I kind of wanted to share with you guys and just anybody who might not be particularly interested in history or Russian to get a sense of why I find the project I'm doing interesting. So I'm studying media habits of young Russians, especially as they relate to representations of World War II history in film. I'm really interested in popular media because I think it's a really huge piece of how group identities, whether ethnic or national, how those identities form. I think in Russia in particular, Russia is such an interesting historical development that I think to see how people in different stages of Russian history view the other stages is actually really politically significant, culturally significant, and adding in the generational aspect, that's really only makes it more interesting to me. I'm studying the generation of Russians that have grown up really only in the Putin era, maybe alive during the Yeltsin era in the 90s, but really conscious consumers of media in the Putin years. So I'm trying to see the particular impact of historical representation in film on this particular generation. I want to use these videos to pick apart certain themes that I'm thinking about. None of them are exhaustive. I've never done field research before. This is my first time. I'm kind of just sharing my thoughts about what I find significant now and what I think might happen. I wanted to make this video about the Western gaze because I'm venturing for the first time into the field of anthropology. Anthropology is the study of human behavior, and it's something that's kind of hard to define, at least for me, because human behavior crosses into so many areas of life. There's the concrete, your habits of where you shop and what you eat. And then there's also the abstract. That's the media you consume, how you understand it, how you socialize with other people. That gets really complex because people are complex. The reason I wanted to talk about the Western gaze is because the existence of anthropology as a field finds its roots in the days of European colonialism around the world, because the first anthropologists were Europeans trying to document the lives of the peoples they were colonizing or trying to colonize, and trying to document the old primitive ways of life before they were irreparably changed by the modernizing forces of colonization. Obviously, this is not the kind of anthropology I would want to practice, but I think the Western gaze is an important aspect of my project. I studied Russian in college, and within my history major was also studying a lot of Russian history, and an element of that was interest in Russia. And so my question is, does the extent to which I do kind of exoticize Russia and find it interesting and other, does that bear any relationship to the original anthropologists who were coming from a colonial mindset about the peoples they were observing? I think yes, and I think no. So, coming from America, in American racial categories, Russians are white. Um, However, I think that in Russia's broad historical experience, Russians and the nation of Russia, whether the Soviet Union or the Russian Empire or any of the states that preceded it, has always been exoticized and orientalized by European observers to cast Russia as a society different from ours. And I definitely come from that mindset in some way. I'm a Westerner. The Western gaze is part of my project because I'm a Westerner gazing at Russian media habits, right? So my question is, can I have this Western gaze on this not colonized but still othered society? Can I have this gaze without doing harm with my project to further otherize, to further orientalize and exoticize? And I think yes, I think learning a bit about anthropology and where the field has gone, it seems that anthropologists have approached this question by making that power dynamic of the gaze part of their work. So instead of pretending to be objective observers of whatever society they're studying, instead acknowledging the interaction that's taking place. Because I believe it would be dishonest to, paint myself as an objective observer, obviously, especially as a Westerner, because historically that gaze implies a power dynamic where the observer has power over the observed. And instead, I want to document the interaction that's taking place in which I can interact with the people I'm interviewing and studying on equal footing. Anyway, yeah, so these are just some of the thoughts I'm having about the Western gaze in my project, and something that I'm sure I'm going to keep thinking about going forward. But let me know if you have any ideas or any thoughts. I know this is my first kind of foray into anthropology, so I'm sure a lot of people out there, maybe someone's watching this video, might have some helpful advice or ideas about how to sensitively handle the topic. So with that, I'm excited to keep you guys updated on what's been happening out here in Siberia and about my adventures. And if you've made it this far in the video, thank you for watching, and I hope soon to have some cool information to share with you. But okay, bye.